And just like all of our other sessions, we'll start off with a kind of a brief presentation to kind of walk you through some things and talk about what your options are. And then we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. So we will definitely not go beyond an hour. And if you have to leave at any time, don't feel like you have to stay, but I will post the recording to the session online right next to where you signed up for the meeting, okay? So if you do have to duck out at any point, no worries, just you can always check back on the recording. So that being the case, I think I know all of you, so I don't need to introduce myself, but I am Bob Harrison for those of you that are watching the video. And what I want to talk about today is something that is a common question that we've been getting from teachers, and that is, how do you annotate documents in Schoology? What are the tools? What are your options? And what are the best ways to do that? And there are actually multiple ways to do annotation within Schoology. And I want to talk about a few of the kind of the more important ones, or the ones that you may want to try out. And they involve some other tools in addition to Schoology. So we'll talk today about Kami. Kami is an extension for your Chrome browser that you can use, and students can download, and they can use that to annotate a document in a way that's kind of like you know, that they're very used to. You know, if they have some text and they have a highlighter and they can draw lines and put sticky notes and things like that on it. DocHub is actually another website that students can go to. They can upload a document that you give them, but it involves a little bit of what we call the download dance. So they're going to have to download the document, upload it to DocHub, then once they're finished, download it again and upload it back up to Schoology. There are some ways that you can actually annotate documents, or at least draw on things within Schoology. And then there's kind of a cool way to do it that really allows you the most flexibility, I think, with Google Drawing. So I don't prefer any one of these. Really, all of these 4 different ways that we're going to talk about today are really different. And they're going to, you know, excuse me, it's going to depend on what you want to do with the document and what you want students to do, you know, as you decide what you're going to use. So let's start off. I'm going to switch my screen here. Let's start off with the first one, which is Kami. All right, Kami is a paid extension. Let me stop sharing my screen here and go back to screen number 1 here. Kami is a paid extension that you can download by going to the Chrome Web Store. And so your first step in this process is going to the Chrome Web Store and adding Kami as an extension. All right, so usually the way I get to the Chrome Web Store is I just Google Chrome Web Store, or you can go to chrome.google.com/webstore. As you'll see, the URL reads up above. And if you just search for Kami, K-A-M-I, you'll notice that one of the top responses is going to be the Kami extension. All right, and so you can click on that, and you will have a blue button here if you haven't added it before that says Add to Chrome. All right, and what that does is, excuse me, typically puts a little extension up at the top in your extension bar that allows you, when you go into Schoology, to have access to Kami. Now, again, as I mentioned, this is a paid extension, and so all of the features that you're going to see in Kami are not necessarily going to be available to you because it does require a subscription to the service. There are, right now, opportunities for teachers to get a 60-day trial of some of those premium features, and there are some things that you can use for free, at least for now, until Kami decides that they want to start charging for things. So that's usually the way companies like this go. They get people hooked, they get people to see the benefit of the tool, and unfortunately then they start to charge, you know, a per student amount. So know that that is something that is going to change over time. So even though things are free for now, that's not always going to be the way they are. All right, so let me walk you through how to create an assignment that you can use the Kami extension for. Now that I've added the extension, and we'll do that in Schoology. Just a note, students are also going to have to download the Kami extension. So they have to go through the process of going to the Chrome Web Store, adding to Chrome, and they'll have to authenticate. They'll have to make sure they put their email address and their password in as well. Okay. Now, once you do download it and you have it added to Chrome, you can just come into into your Schoology course, create an assignment. All right, this works only with assignments, and you'll notice that in addition to the Google Drive assignments option that you also have the option now of Kami. All right, so I can let's just create an annotation assignment. I might give some instructions here, like highlight the main idea and add connections to the document. All right, so students know what they're going to do. And then if I click on Kami, Kami allows me to add a document from my Google Drive. So whatever I'm going to use, I should have saved to my Google Drive, and that's going to make it a lot easier for me to add it. Okay. And as with anything like what we're going to do, PDFs work really, really well. So I'm going to search my Google Drive for PDFs, and these are a little bit different than the way I left them. Let's just go into one of these. See if I can find, oh, I can't find any PDFs there. Should have had one ready to go. Here's an online lesson that's a PDF. And so I've got some text for students to be able to annotate and highlight and things like that. Okay. Now, I won't get into the specifics of creating an assignment. That's going to be another Tech Coaches Corner later on. But once I create the assignment, oops, and I need to give it a category. Once I've created the assignment, students can click on it, and they will see that they have the button to open the assignment with Kami, right? And that's what we want them to do. Once they do that, they'll see a menu that shows them their options when it comes to annotating the document. So along the left-hand side, now that my my document has uploaded, you notice I have several options here, some of which have that little yellow lock on them, which means that they're premium features that I don't have access to because I'm not a premium subscriber, and I don't even have the extra, the free 60-day trial for teachers even, right? But I do have a few limited options like markup. Markup allows me to highlight, to use a box highlighter. So just to give you an idea, a box highlighter allows you to draw a box. You can strike through things. You can underline, and you have a little color palette here that you can use. All right. So for many teachers, that's going to be that's essentially 50% of what they want a student to be able to do. All right. The text comment feature allows students to, just like on a Google Doc, add a comment to the document or connection, and it's gonna, if you notice, it puts a little dot where they were making the connection, so it's kind of nice. You can associate their comment with the text, and then there are text boxes and things like that that Kami will allow them to use. In addition to that, there's drawing, shapes, and you can even go through and erase things that you have made on the document. And the nice thing about Kami is right up here at the top of the screen, you'll notice there are a few options, one of which is turn in. And so that makes it really easy for the students to just right within Schoology, they click on turn in, and that gets turned in as their assignment submission to the teacher. Okay, so that's how Kami works. Again, Kami requires the teacher to download the extension and the students to download the extensions too. Okay, go ahead, turn on your mic.
Some feedback. When you clicked on the comment for the text box, there was a microphone. So does that mean that students can use that for speech to text?
Good question, good question. So when I click on comment and I put a comment here, notice there is that microphone. That is an option, but if you notice also it's got the yellow lock on it. So it is a premium feature. that really would be nice to have students be able to do, but unfortunately they can't, okay? Unless they are paid subscribers, which is something, you know, maybe down the line buildings and, you know, the district may want to look into, all right? But there are other options which we're going to go through today as well, all right? Any other questions about Kami before we move on to our next option? Okay. All right, so that's kind of the easiest. Let's go to the one that's going to be probably the most challenging for students when it comes to like managing the files and things like that. But nevertheless, it's a good website to have students familiar with, so that no matter where they get a PDF from or where they get a document from, they can always annotate it using this website. All right, and the website is dochub.com. So let's go to dochub.com. And again, this is a separate website. It's not integrated with Schoology. And so if a student is going to use a DocHub or use DocHub to annotate the assignment that they've been given, they have to first download the assignment to their computer or their Chromebook or their phone or whatever it is. And then they need to go to dochub.com, sign in, and upload the document to DocHub. Okay, so again, it's what we call the download dance. It's a little bit confusing, especially for some of the younger users. But once students get into the habit of using the tool, it's actually, it moves pretty smoothly. All right, so now that I'm in DocHub, let's imagine that Mr. Harrison has given me a document that he wants me to annotate on, and so I can come in here to DocHub, and I can click New, and I can upload the file from my computer, or if I've saved it to my Google Drive, I can get it from there. All right, so let's go to my computer. I have a file that's a PDF saved here. Here's a math worksheet that I've saved. And so I'm uploading the document directly to DocHub. And DocHub, again, is another free service that requires no subscription, but it does give you more premium features, obviously, if you do subscribe. But the basic features that it gives you for most teachers and for most students are enough. All right, so here's my PDF. You notice across the top I have several options, including the ability to add text to the page. All right, I can draw lines. All right, so if I want to come down here to the math problem that's in exercise 1, I can show my work. I'm using a mouse right now. Students that have a touchscreen computer or Chromebook can use this pretty easily as well, but this is one way to show your work. All right, you notice that we can draw shapes and arrows and things like that with this tool. There's also a highlighter, so if I wanted to. It's kind of like the box highlighter in Kami. I can select a section of text. I can also leave comments. All right, so I can add a comment just like a Google Doc or just like you can in Kami. Okay, and then there's the eraser, and you have options of putting stamps on documents as well. And so you can use this as a teacher to give quick feedback and things like that. So if you're looking for specific things in a student's document, for instance, and you want to just put a little check mark next to all the things that they earned a point for, you can do that. Okay. And then of course you can add your own signature. You can change the font and things like that. Change the color of your materials and whatnot. Now here's where again the other drawback comes. Students that learn how to use this, they can use it forever. They, again, until DocHub becomes a paid service. But they still have to download their work and then upload it into Schoology in order to turn it in. Okay, so if they click up here on Download Export, they can decide where they want it downloaded. Because Schoology is not one of the options at this point, they're going to download it to their computer. And then when they go back to their assignment in Schoology, they simply need to click the button that would be over here for a student, which says Add Submission, and then attach the file. Okay. Now, again, this is something that the first time you do it with students, it's going to be very difficult for them. They're going to run into all kinds of problems and they're not going to be able to find their file and things like that. But as with any other skill, once they get used to it, and this is a skill that is going to benefit them in the long run, the downloading and managing of files and things like that, they have a full array of features in DocHub. Okay, so that's DocHub. We've been through Kami and now DocHub. Any questions on DocHub? All right. So if you do have questions, or if you think of questions later, by all means, feel free to email me or Amy, or set up an appointment with us. We'd be glad to work on this, work through this with you. And you can check out anything that we have available on techcoaches.dearbornschools.org. Hopefully you're a subscriber to our blog. But let's move on to the last two tools that I want to just kind of demonstrate here, one of which actually works directly in Schoology. All right, and the way that you use the next tool is by creating an assessment. So if I go up here and I just click on this dashed green line and add an assessment, let's just call it a sample assessment. Oops. I have to choose a category. Again, we won't worry too much about the rest of the settings here. We'll talk about those in a later date. But once I create that, I can set my parameters for my assessment. We'll wait for that screen to load. And we'll save those parameters. And then we'll go to add questions. Now, one particular type of question allows students to be able to at least write on the screen. It's not so great for annotating. It is limited in the number of options that you have. You don't have comments. You don't have necessarily a highlighter, but you do have something that will allow you to write on the screen. And we're going to use the one called highlight image. Okay, so once again, let me go back to that. In our list of questions, in our question types, the one I chose was highlight image. Okay, now that's going to require you to have a copy of the image that you want the students to be able to annotate on and or highlight or show their work on. All right, so whatever image you're going to use, let's say I'm using that math worksheet that I downloaded before. So I'll go into my files, I'll bring that math worksheet up. And we'll go into my downloads. Here was my math student lesson. And so I'm going to need to use a screenshot tool, or if you're using a Chromebook, there's a screenshot tool that you can use. And there's also one on your PC desktop, which if you want to jot this down, is Windows, the Windows key, Shift, and S. And that brings up the snipping tool. All right, so let's say I want students to respond to this particular question. I want them to show their work on it. So I'm saving the document. It's copied to my clipboard because I used the snipping option. And so if I go back to my highlight image question, I can upload an image and I can add what I just selected. Actually, I should probably save that image. Let's see if I can go back to that. Sorry, lots of stuff going on in the office here today. Let's do it a slightly different way. Here's my image once again. Let's go to a different question here. I'm going to use another tool that I like to use called MonoSnap, which is a screen grabbing tool that you can download and install on your personal computers at home. So let me just take that. I'm going to save that as an image file, save it as a PNG file, and I'll save it to my download so that I can come back and get it. So again, I'm just setting up the question. And when I go to upload an image, I'll find that image that I've saved in my downloads for now. Here it is. Okay. And I'll click OK. And I want to give students some instructions. So answer the question and show your work. Okay. And I can attach learning objectives to this and things like that as well. But let's save that. All right. And now when I go to preview my question and I start the attempt, you notice that I have the option of changing colors and things like that. But now I can annotate on the screen. So I could circle an answer. I can show my work over here. Okay. And again, I'm using a mouse to annotate. This is, in some cases, the best we're going to get for students. But students that do have a touch screen Chromebook or something like that, they're able to use their finger or use a stylus or something like that. Okay. You can change colors. If a student wants to undo something, there's no eraser, but they can click the undo and redo buttons and things like that, or they can clear their work and they can start over again. All right. Now, one of the nice things about this is I believe when you go to grade this, and I haven't tried this out, but I believe when you go to grade that, you can actually see kind of a video of the student's response. You can see the process that they went through in order to show their work and to annotate the image that you've posted for them. Okay, so that's our third option, which is again the highlight image question type within an assessment in Schoology. All right, let me pause for a second. Any questions on this method? Okay. Now, the final method is the one that is going to give you probably the most flexibility when it comes to being able to assign things, have students turn things into you, and kind of give you the most features because it's essentially an open canvas. And that is going to be to use the tool that we call Google Drawings. All right, so Google Drawing, there are a couple ways to get to it. One of which is to go to drawings.google.com. That'll open up a brand new drawing for you, which is going to be saved in your Google Drive. That's one way to get to things. Another way to get to it is to go to your Google Drive and to click New. And then go down to More. And you'll notice that one of the first ones that pops up is Google Drawings. So you can open it up in one of those two locations. Okay. So let's say that I am going to call this math problem for now. All right. And I want to insert my image that I have already snipped. I've already saved. And I saved it to my downloads folder using MonoSnap a little while ago. So I'll come in here and I'll add or insert an image. And so now I have my canvas set. Okay. It's ready to go. I can have students use any of the tools within Google Drawings, and you can add little features as well. If you wanted to add little sticky notes off to the side and have them either give them other instructions or have them click and drag things onto the screen, you can do that as well. And I'll show you how you put this into Schoology. All right. In addition to that, there are all of the basic drawing painting features. They can use the scribble, for instance, to write on the screen. They can add shapes and callouts and text boxes. They can change the color of what they're doing and things like that. Okay, so lots of different options when it comes to Google Images. So how do you put that into your Schoology? Well, this is part of the reason that I like this tool so much. Let me go back to my course here. And keep in mind, when I created the Google drawing, it is saved in my Google Drive. And so when I go to create an assignment, again, I'll click Add Materials, Add Assignment. Okay, and I'll call this math problem for now. I can give a description that shows instructions on what I want the students to do. So show your work, we'll keep it simple. And then I go to my Google Drive assignments. And here's my math problem, which is shown with a little Google Drawings icon right here that has the red circle and square. So I'll choose that and click attach. And each student in my class is now going to get a copy of that Google drawing that they can annotate on their own without seeing anybody else's. And they can do whatever annotations they need to do. They can show their work, they can draw on the screen, they can draw boxes and things like that. And they can turn it back into me just like any other Google assignment that might be a Google Doc. Okay, so like come in here, click on math problem, and they will see an option to look at their document, which when they click on it, is gonna look just like this, okay? So again, they have all the features that they need up here. There's even a comment feature as well. And all of those things are going to be visible to me when students come in here and they turn in their work. Okay, so lots of different options when it comes to annotating documents, whether it's showing, having students show their work, draw, annotate an item of text or something like that. And each one of those options is really going to depend on what it is you want students to be able to show you and what evidence you're looking for when it comes to student work. Okay, so just to go back, head back over to our PowerPoint that we had going on here just a little while ago. I can't get my meeting controls to pop up, unfortunately. Oh, we might have to do without it for now. Oh, here they are.
Is it full screen?
Yep. All right. So back to the PowerPoint that we had going on, just to review. The tools that we went through today included Kami, which again is a Google Chrome extension that we downloaded. DocHub was the tool that we downloaded the document and we took it over to DocHub to annotate it. That has full features for free at this point. We talked about how to do a Schoology assignment or assessment that has a highlight image question. And then we looked at how to embed a Google drawing into an assignment. Okay, so those are four really good options that should cover just about any one of your needs when it comes to having students annotate and write on documents. Okay. So with that, let me stop the recording and